Hello, everybody. It's so nice to see so many of you joining this webinar that we are having today. I see numbers going up and up and up. So let's wait for maybe 15 more seconds before we start our webinar of today. I am so happy to see so many people here. And on behalf of Talentador, I want to thank all of you for your interest. Today, we are going to talk about AI and their buzzword in many people's minds called ChatGPT. And especially, what does it mean in recruitment? What is it enabling? And what else is available for recruitment in terms of AI technologies? And I am so happy and privileged to see two other experts in this webinar together with me. One being Riku from our company, heading the looking after the product, technologies, trends, and making sure that our journey towards more human touch in recruitment is also technologically secured. And then we have our guest speaker, Aarne, who is a professor at Gothenburg University and a very leading mind in the world in terms of different language models and technologies in order to have more and better communication with human beings facilitated with technologies. Aarne, welcome. What I would like to ask you to all do is that, can you go, you see here, there's a Mentimeter, so it's like a barcode. You can either go to menti.com and enter the code, or what you can do is take a phone and take a picture of that. I have a little poll I would like to ask you to answer. So if you can go there, it would be wonderful. As you see, when you start answering these things, you will start seeing that, have you tried ChatGPT yet? So we have a little bit of a feeling, how familiar this is for you and how familiar it may not be yet, but it will be by the end of this webinar. We can see there that so many have already had the chance to work with this. So please, if you are not yet in Menti, please go there. There will be a couple of other polls, and if you are participating, they get very valuable data that we will be sending you afterwards about how people are feeling certain important topics in recruitment. But we can see that most of us have been using. You can still continue filling it in. I will be moving forward at the same time. We already get a little bit of visibility here. So that being said, I would like to hand over the speech to Riku, my colleague. How does ChatGPT actually work?
All right, glad to be here. Many of you have already used ChatGPT. Chat refers to chat, obviously, and GPT is a language model that the whole product of ChatGPT is built on. Maybe we can look at in real time how actually ChatGPT works. We have a short video, which is quite closely related to recruitment as well. So basically, you can ask questions, ask the ChatGPT to produce some kind of content to you, find out information, interpret some of the questions, and give good answers. So basically, here we're generating a CV for a sales manager position. And this inevitably shows that actually all this text that comes from ChatGPT automatically could also be written by a human. This is something that is a bit of a challenge at the moment. People don't know who actually created the text that you're reading. The difference between ChatGPT and OpenAI and also GPT is the difference. ChatGPT is a product created by a company called OpenAI, an organization filled with super talented researchers and IT professionals. And then again, GPT, Generative Pre-trained Transformer, is a language model behind the whole product that OpenAI has created. Going forward, so basically, while ChatGPT is available for everyone, and you could actually consider it as a consumer product. So basically, whoever can go and ask questions and ask the bot to write you a beautiful letter or marketing email or whatever, you can get it for free as well. So there's basically a freemium model, which has certain limitations. There's also a paid plan. With the paid plan, you actually get like early access to new versions or features that OpenAI is releasing to the ChatGPT. And also, many of you might have noticed that whenever you go to the browser tab and start using it or intend to start using it, the system says that we are crowded at the moment. So please wait for a while and you'll get access. So this is maybe the biggest thing how people use ChatGPT and then move to the paid plan because they can't work just right now. They have to wait. With the paid plan, you can go straight away. You get the priority. On the other hand, the GPT language model itself is developed by OpenAI. It's again open publicly for developers and researchers through APIs, application programming interfaces, and you can build products on it. There are some limitations, terms and conditions that OpenAI poses to the use of GPT, but it's still available for developers. Now we know what ChatGPT is, what GPT is, and also what OpenAI is. OpenAI actually is a company funded by a couple of these big five companies. So basically, Microsoft and Alphabet are the ones that actually fund most of the OpenAI operations. And there has been discussions, and you might have seen tweets where Elon Musk has said, and also Steve Wozniak, being Apple, have said that these kind of language models and products should be shut down straight away. Well, you can think about it based on that funding organization behind. So basically, GPT is just one language model among others, and this is also a very good moment to let Aarne loose, because we have been working with Aarne for years when we have developed and further developed our natural language generation in Talentador. Saku will talk about it a bit later, how it's actually implemented in the recruitment process. But maybe, Aarne, could you please take a lead and tell us what you've been doing for the past months, or is it 25 years?
Well, yeah, depends on what what is in question. So I have my academic position and background, but then we also have a company, Digital Grammars, and we have been working with Talentador for the last 3 years. The nice thing in these applications is that when we put the theory into practice, is that everything becomes much more critical, so to say. So if you're using ChatGPT for your own fun and entertainment, it doesn't really matter what comes out. I mean, it can be funny, or you can recognize that it's not quite all right, but it doesn't really matter. But if you use it for something, for a commercial or industrial purpose, then it's much more critical what you get from AI. And that's, I think, the really interesting point in cooperation between research and industry. So next. So I would just give a very brief introduction to what language models are, because there is no magic here really. Next. So a language model is a probabilistic model of language where you have a piece of text, and then there is a way to predict the next word with a certain probability. So here you see our visit to the restaurant was and then you have these are mock-up alternatives. You see that some of those are quite probable continuations, like really or good and bad. But then enjoyable is very little, very low probability, because it is not possible after the indefinite article a, but there should be an, but still it occurs a little bit. So the language model predicts possible next words. Next slide. So, and traditionally, and this was already known in the 1940s and was invented by Shannon, the pioneer of information theory, was that you have a so-called n-gram model where you have the previous, let's say, 3 words, and then you predict the next word. So restaurant was and you have the same list of probabilities as before. But now you see that there was a word added to the beginning here, unfortunately, and this did not change the model predicting the next word because it is too far. So that means that you get a very strange continuation of the sentence if you say, for instance, good or magnificent in this case. So let's go to the next page. So, and this is what the GPT model changed. So instead of having a small window of the preceding 3 or 5 words, it could look much farther back into the text and find the important words by so-called attention mechanism. And this is why it can change the probability model, and it can give you much more natural sounding text. But still, so what is being done? So it's lottery. So you are randomly taking the next word by this biased probabilities, and some consequences from this that because it's probabilistic, so common words are common, and uncommon words are rare. And in some sense, the text is rather predictable and boring, I would say. If you use it a lot, then you get used to it. Well, yeah, this looks like GPT. Next. So what it is doing, of course, is that it is combining parts of earlier texts. So this probability model is computed from earlier seen texts. In the case of ChatGPT, from internet up to September 2021. So it sounds natural because these are real texts, but they are often about different things. So it because it's just a language model, so it can take a continuation of, let's say, one story from some other story, and therefore it combines facts about different things and cannot be relied on. Last weekend there was a nice example in the newspaper Helsingin Sanomat that ChatGPT said that Urho Kekkonen, the president of Finland, had Tellerva Koivisto as his wife, and Tellerva Koivisto was the wife of the next president, Mauno Koivisto. And this is a very typical thing that happens with ChatGPT generated text, that it combines facts about similar things. So how can we use language models, we have to tame them in some way. We want to combine the natural fluency of these language models, which is great, but use it in reliable fact-based text generation. So an example, and this is a mock-up example, but I took it here because of the context. So we use this language model to generate templates of letters, like generic letters, which we then fill by data from some the data that represents the facts that we want to express. And for this, we need grammar rules, as we will see. Next. So here is an example of a template. We hope this message finds you well, blah, blah, blah. Our gratitude for your application to the position, that's a variable, at organization. And then we placed higher importance in areas. See, 3 variables, and these are filled in from something. So in this case, we use the European ontology called ESCO for skills and occupations, and then we have an organization number for the organization. So this is the template with the variables, and these are the values we want to fill in. Next. And we set the values from this list that where the position is data warehouse designer, the company is digital grammars, and then the area is using agricultural information systems and databases. And when we put this into the template, okay, so we get a fluent text, but which now has exactly the values that we want it to express. Next. Now, where do the grammars come from? So this template filling text generation is a very traditional technique in natural language generation. So it's used everywhere. For instance, in Facebook, when you are giving status reports on people. But if you use it for Finnish, then, well, this is what you want to get for the same facts as you had in the previous, in this English case. So you see the following text, that's what you want to see, but then next slide. So if you look at how these ESCO skills are expressed in the ontology, you see that you cannot put these words directly into the template because tietovarastosuunnittelija, so data storage designer, has to be put into the genitive case, digital grammars into the adhesive case, and then the really complex thing is the last thing here. So ESCO gives you a verb phrase, but then it has to be converted into a nominal phrase, which changes the word order. Next. So there is this grammatical structure behind here, where you, on the left, you have the verb phrase that you actually find in the ESCO ontology, and then on the right-hand side, you have how it is used in as a noun phrase, and in the left hand side, you also see the different variations or the ways in which these words could be inflected when put into different uses. So next slide. So how you do this? And this is, you can imagine, or from the previous slide, that this is a rather more complex task than just gluing in strings. So we do this in GF. GF is grammatical framework, is the programming language for grammars that is used for using grammars in computer applications. So that's the approach that I've been working on the last 25 years. And next.
Aarne, please,
Yes.
can you one more time explain this grammatical framework and GPT, are they the same thing, not to be confused? Just to one more time clarify for our
so they are
the difference.
here. So if you look at the so if you can take 2 slides back here. So here you see that this template, the things that are given on this beige background, so they come from ChatGPT, but the blue things come from GF. So we use them in combination so that we get this boilerplate text from ChatGPT, but then we get the critical content by using GF.
I think that clarifies it a lot. Thank you for taking it up.
Yeah, so GF has a worldwide community, and we have been working on many different languages. Here we have about 50, and there is an ongoing project where we are aiming at 300 languages to generate Wikipedia articles in all of those languages. So this is a growing project, but you already can use it for a rather nice set of languages.
And maybe one more thing, Aarne, if you can just say, there was a very interesting article in Helsingin Sanomat that you have come up with a more accurate, that was like their main article, more accurate algorithm than ChatGPT. Could you just a couple of sentences explain what was that article main message of it? Because you're working on this Wikipedia, it's an important project, but can you just a couple of sentences?
Yeah, so the thing is that the grammar rules in GF, they are like mathematical rules. So you apply them and you always know what comes out. So it's fully under control. Whereas ChatGPT is so huge and it's more probabilistic, so you can't really predict what comes out.
Okay, thank you for helping all of us with that.
So the take-home thing here is that the language models can generate fluent text. So you can also use just GF to generate text, but it will be more boring usually than ChatGPT. But this has been done many times. And if you work on it, so you can get rather nice text, but not maybe that fluency as in ChatGPT. But in ChatGPT, we cannot trust the facts that they come out right. And solution to this, which we, for instance, use in the Wikipedia case, is that we use these fluent text as templates. So we keep the boilerplate part of it, and then we fill in the facts from our data, and to fill them in properly so that it comes out fluent. So we have to convert them to correct expressions by these GF grammar rules. And this can now be done efficiently in over 50 languages. Thanks.
Thank you, Aarne, for your knowledge and wisdom so far here. I'm also putting here just to remind you that this Mentimeter is something that we're going to make a little poll soon. So remember this one, and I hope that you can stay here and have connection here. If you don't have this yet, you can still take their camera barcode here and enter this, or you can take the code to enter it. This will be soon asked and very useful to be here. So thank you for doing this. I'll give it a 10 more seconds to stay here. Just a second.
Maybe to fill the gap here. So the ESCO managed by European Commission is actually available in 28 languages, which brings very valuable data to us, because if digital grammars can do 50 languages and soon more, there's also the ESCO that also has those 28 languages, 3,000 occupations, 15,000 skills. Some of them are adjacent in a way, so they are connected to each other, and that brings us a lot of power when we start talking about, for example, competencies and suitability to the teams. going back to recruitment.
Okay, thank you for adding those. So Riku, talk a little bit about AI in work life and recruitment and how these come together.
I think most of you have already used AI in your work already, either consciously or even unconsciously. There are a lot of different tools that can be implemented in different parts of work life. For example, if we think about like a manager or let's take a sales manager. We had an example there. So there is, for example, a service called Clara or Trevor, which sound actually pretty human, don't they? They are booking assistants. They are AI-driven booking assistants that can actually book you meetings to the relevant slots based on your previous behavior. If we go to marketing, for example, there are services such as Copy AI that can actually create marketing campaigns, like campaigns, not only one article, with a few clicks. Amazing. So obviously, like automation and AI might be confusing at some points, but it's obvious that some of the or most of the non-complex work tasks in everyday life can be automated and then enhanced with AI. Fact-based decision making is one of those big themes. So data is always there in the background. We'll talk about that a bit later. And also customer service. Everybody has been talking with chatbots. Usually they are closed-ended questions. Are you or are you not? But this AI brings in more liveliness because you can actually discuss with the chatbot in an open-ended world, basically having the questions and answers in an open-ended world, like we saw in the example of ChatGPT. Some few examples just there.
Okay. Shall we go for the poll? Okay, so now you have the Mentimeter. Good to see so many of you already in. There are many more still on this webinar. So if you feel like answering, that would be great. So we are asking you that, what do you think is consuming most time in your recruitment processes? Put this in order of priority for you, and we'll be seeing here live how that order of priority is going. And based on that, this information is also, giving us further ideas about what is up for automation and what could be made automatic for you. So we see that application screening is something that is taking a lot of time, candidate evaluation and feedback, candidate communication, creating job ads. Okay, candidate evaluation and feedback seems to be kind of getting the first position. Creating job ads is not the most urgent thing. Thank you. Thank you for this information. And you can continue answering even though we will be moving to the next slide. So would you like to still, Riku, share a little bit about use cases in recruitment and what could be those that we can see?
For sure. So we talked about regular work life and benefits of having AI in everyday life there. Focusing more on the recruitment side, for example, creating an ideal candidate profile could help you in then screening the candidates and finding those most ideal candidates. So basically, obviously, you need to know what you're looking for in order for the results to come optimal way out as well. So ideal candidate profiles, also success based decision making. So earlier success reflects future as well, hopefully. This might bring some bias as well there, but it's good to look in the history as well. Sourcing and matching, we saw in the poll already that the application screening is taking a lot of time. These days, AI can do magic. Maybe traditionally it was tag-based, keyword-based matching, and that's basically not even AI. It's more automating or just matching, but AI can do better. And if we, for example, incorporate ESCO, those 3,000 occupations, 15,000 skills, and some of the skills being adjacent. So for example, sales manager and marketing manager have skills that are in common. So one day, basically the AI could actually suggest to you that maybe this lady or guy that is a marketing manager could actually be a good salesperson as well, because they can do prospecting or inbound. Job ads, always interesting what to write there, how to resonate with the target group. So when you have a very good target group in mind, you can actually then target the job ad text and all other material in the job ad to really make difference in the target group that you're looking for. Candidate engagement. So communications with candidates, just like that email assistant can write letters, we can apply that to recruitment as well. And then when we start talking about the most time-consuming phase of recruitment, that is usually then left undone just because we don't have time, or sometimes even competence, is candidate feedback. Every candidate, they yearn for feedback. How did I do? What was well? Why didn't I get chosen? And for this, there's also an AI that can actually generate those feedbacks for you. Saku will talk about that a bit later. Onboarding and offboarding, there are a lot of routine tasks that you can do and make the experience of the fresh hire or the one that is actually hopefully happily leaving the company and moving to new challenges with AI. So experience in all that.
Let's talk a little bit about possible pitfalls that AI or similar technologies may have. So Aarne and Riku, what type of thoughts? Maybe we start with Aarne. What type of pitfalls do you see that AI may have in you coming from the communication point? You already raised a few, but would you like to, share maybe a few more?
Yeah, so I think this one should understand how language models work, because from this many things follows, or the rest of the things follow. So as I said, so the text becomes quite verbose and a bit boring, and you don't always want that. And I think people will get more tired with this when ChatGPT or other language models start dominating the world. It's like when Mao Zedong was the dictator of China, so you could only read his thoughts and nothing else was available. So
in other words, the audience and users of the early users, they are quite open-minded and they are thrilled about the possibility to do something. But over time, they become more demanding because it might become boring.
Yes.
So it has to be more than that. I guess that is the trend, is we start with something and then we need more. And when we actually more stricter, how would I say, arguments and requirements towards that. Is that, Aarne, what you also?
Yeah, so we are actually, this is a very urgent problem also in education, because I tested our Python programming course questions with ChatGPT, and it would have passed the exam. So we have to, if you have a home exam, so then we have to think in different ways, and I think the situation is even worse for those disciplines where they write essays.
Yes.
Reported many times, but even programming in a small scale for well-defined problems. So it seems to be doing it quite well, which is in education. So it's a problem right now, but I think it can be a good thing, and it can make our work more efficient in the future. So.
Okay. Of course, some plagiarism is what you're also hinting in academic world. That is that
everything. I think one should understand that whenever you generate a text with such a program, so then it is plagiarism. So
yes, perfect. So Riku, what would you like to add to that?
Yeah, maybe zooming a bit out of the whole language generation and thinking about the AI in general. So basically, like AI in general compared to human intelligence has a couple of fundamental differences. So basically, AI can't actually really think. It's relying on the data that has been fed to it, and maybe it has digested it, maybe further developed it, but it's still based on data. So, and the data might be old. With ChatGPT or ChatGPT, it's from September 2021. So basically, I couldn't ask any questions from this year, and many things that has happened after 2021.
So in other words, what Riku is saying, like in many other things has been for years, is that if you have garbage in, you get garbage out. So
bag,
yes, but still, you need to have quality what you're doing. We continue discussing this in a while. So how about AI and recruiting and adding human touch to recruitment? What does it mean in practice? And when a job candidate is sending an application, it is a love letter, and you should and we compare and actually, if you have a romantic relationship, couples relationship, and then you have employment relationship, actually it goes with the same principle, almost exactly. So let's imagine that I want to have a job interview. So I send an application letter and I want to have an interview. If I want to, in my case, have a date with a lady, I want to send a love letter to have the date. When I'm at the date, I want to give the best possible impression of myself, and the other party wants the same. Now, the critical moment is after the first date, is that if I send to the lady, it was a nice date, I'd like to meet again. Is the lady answering me in 5 minutes or 5 days? And if it's 5 days, it makes me wonder what's going on here. Maybe she answers me after 5 days that, yes, I agree. I'd love to meet again. And then I say, how about tomorrow? Is it a 5 days again? And if it's 5 days ago, for me, at least it would be game over. But that is the same for many people in recruitment. This is actually even more personal, because if you have the hierarchy of Maslow's, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it's more important to have house, food, and the basic needs filled. And then you can maybe get the date later on. So this is very personal. And let's imagine that the life goes very well, and we end up living together, maybe getting married, which is the job. You sign the job contract. And it wouldn't be the first time that in the marriage, after or living together after some time, the other party is saying that, well, when we were dating, you look like this, and now you look very different. Where is the difference? Where is the difference? And that happens also in recruitment, is that the candidate experience is reflected when at the first day of work and later on. And it might be the reason for somebody to leave after 6 months. So it does make a difference how you communicate throughout the process. Because when you think about that, unfortunately in the Nordics, around 50% of marriages fail. And if you ask the most common reasons why it fails, it's because I didn't get heard and understood. There was a toxic communication. There was no communication. So there are, whatever those reasons are, they are always seem to be related mostly on communication. So wouldn't it be then so that we should fix the communication, obviously in those relationship parts, but also at work, at how we hire people, and make sure that the candidate experience is great. And what we do in Talented Door since the very, very early times, actually, that was the first technology we did, is that we want to make sure that every recruiter is able to give a personalized feedback to every candidate, not just the one that was selected and not just the one that was interviewed, but everybody. And because there's no time, so we create a technology that is making it happen. And it's based on language generation. And we are very happy that we've been able to work during the past 3 years, as Aarne mentioned, together to improve further and also introducing the mathematical grammatical rules so that we actually have a better and easier way to introduce new languages, because we can also do in different ways this, what we are doing so far, natural language processing. And now what we are doing with Aarne is actually improving and accelerating the possibility to get so many more languages here. And here we have a video that will show a little bit how this works. So you basically click and evaluate the candidate. You see the CV, you evaluate it, and then you are able to see how on the left-hand side our natural language processing technology is creating a fully personalized feedback. It's like the keyboard for the recruiter. And if you don't like the feedback, you can always regenerate it, and it's always different. And that's the thing here. It's always different, it's personal, but it's based on a human's actions in recruitment. So it is human touch, but it made possible by clever technology. And that's the bottom line here. Let me move forward. So talking a little bit about the difference between Talented Door and ChatGPT and so forth. So maybe Aarne and Riku, you can also add, but what we, just for me, is like explain our goal is to has been and is to create a control environment that we have controlled wordings and we don't have any possibility for mistakes. And we are working on that continuously. In ChatGPT, because it's an open vocabulary, and please forgive me, I'm just saying that there are certain words that exist there. And then certainly, for example, a word called idiot is there. So imagine that you would be using some open model and then by accident, you are sending messages that are insulting the other party. We are in control environment, and that's where we want to continue our journey. Aarne, Riku, what would you like to add here?
Maybe to add with that, we saw the video where we had some themes like motivation, work experience, kind of like traits that always exist in general in recruitment. So our first version was focusing on around 20 different themes when you evaluate the candidates. But the ESCO now and the collaboration with the digital grammars and Aarne has made it possible that whenever you have requirements in your job, let's say marketing mix or Java, you can now give feedback based on those recruiter created evaluation criteria as well. So it's not limited to some set of skills, but now we can actually give feedback basically on everything and anything.
Thank you, Riku. How about Aarne? What would you like to say?
So I think this is an excellent example of something that is the growing trend right now. So we see that just making the language models bigger, it's both extremely expensive, but it doesn't give us the features that we are lacking, like the reliability. So the current trends in research are very much in adding some other tools to language models, taming them, using the same word as I used. And there are several papers and projects that have been published in the previous months about this thing. And I think this is what really also companies that use AI for special purposes, so they should think in these ways. So they add something which makes the AI unique and reliable.
So it's basically you have technology, you use the technology for something good.
Yes.
And this is actually, even since the very early years of Talentador, what we saw happening is in many universities, Talentador was used as an example of how clever automation used with clever technologies, AI and everything what is now emerging is a great example that with technology, actually you can increase humanity. I may increase, not decrease. And because that gives more opportunities for more candidates to become heard and understood, present their case, how they would fit for the work, get feedback, how they can improve for tomorrow. And it becomes more interaction than one way somebody applies and then gets rejected or approved type of situation. It's no one and zeros. There's a lot of more possibilities that technology is now liberating time for us to work on. Now I'd like to raise to end with Riku. So where do you see the future is? What are we going to see in 1 year's time and maybe even in 3 years' time? And I will be asking that from Aarne soon from you as well. And that will be conclude our webinar today. So where do you see the future?
Yeah, maybe if not putting the foil hat on and thinking about the neurological whatever there in 10 years when like machines can read your mind, that's something that is investigated at the moment as well. But I think the most critical things to focus on with AI in general is trying to add some empathy type of an approach to the AI, because it's quite clinical in a way. And for example, morale and judgment are really difficult for AI to then process. Think about, for example, an autonomous car about to drive over a little girl on a crosswalk. Who actually survives? Maybe the little girl should do that because you wouldn't die in the cockpit of a car. But those decisions where an existential decision needs to be made, AI really lacks that. So that's what I would focus on.
Okay, how do you, Aarne, see? Thank you, Riku. How do you, Aarne, see? What are we likely to see in 1 year's time or even 3 years' time? How is the world different then, with their speed of development that we are seeing currently?
I would really like to agree with Riku that I think the biggest risk with AI is that we rely on it too much and we give judgments to it. So it should be our slave, so to say. And then we should think about how best to use it.
Yes.
And also, let's say, language models is now the dominating technology in AI. But that's very new. So 3 years ago, that was not the case. There are many other techniques in AI which can possibly solve the problems that language models cannot. And we will certainly see more and more AI, but it will come in new variations. And then, as I said earlier, so there is this also trend of finding new ways of combining AI with some more traditional or more reliable techniques so that you can get the best of them both.
Such as human brain, for example.
Yes, human brain is...
Also this human plus machine combination is, of course, interesting already because in this way the human can keep the control.
Yes, it's
but also because together they can solve problems. Yeah.
Thank you, Aarne. I think it's a very important message is that the new technology doesn't mean that the old technology is obsolete. It means that the new technology is adding new capabilities that we can enhance with the existing technologies. And I think that's a very important message. And the other important message, what I have often said also in publications where I have been interviewed, in Finnish, I have said that the AI is huono isäntä, hyvä renki, or it's in English, it means that it's a good slave, but very bad master. Mm-hmm. So, you know, it's a good tool to help your decision maker, but remember, you are making the decision at the end of the day. I wish to thank you all for your joining and for your time and interest towards us. And if you want to contact us at any moment, we are here happy to assist you and talk more about these topics or other topics that you are passionate about recruitment. Thank you very much once again, and thank you for the speakers. Thank you for the content, and I wish you a very good June. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.